So here's last week's project where we just drew a whole bunch of overlapping flowers that were all kind of in this area at the top of our page. We let some of them hang over. We made sure that whenever we drew a new flower, we did not draw on top of anything that we already had. And so you might see, we zoom in here, like for example, this flower is behind this flower. So this flower is behind this flower. These flowers are behind this flower. Okay, so everything has its own place in there, and we never draw on top of what we've already got. We also made sure to clean up any kind of messy bits that we made. Now, it's really important because if this gets messy, it doesn't look good. So neatness is really important for this one. So this week, we're going to do the next part of this, which is adding in our vase, our shading, and kind of our background, and then adding color, because color really, really makes this one special. So you guys can use whatever you want for coloring, whatever you have on hand. You can use markers, paint, whatever you happen to have at home. If you're working at home, or if you're working on this in the classroom, whatever you have in your desk that's available to you. For me, obviously, I'm using a sketchbook, so I'll also color it in the sketchbook. But first, we want to finish our line drawing. So let me just show you guys over here. A vase is usually shaped something like that, okay? So the other side mirrors it, and the bottom has to be rounded, okay? So if you guys remember doing our hot cocoa drawing, those of you guys who did the hot cocoa drawing, the round bottom of the vase shows us that this is a rounded vessel, okay? It's not straight. If this were straight across, it won't look right. So don't do that. Do this, okay? Don't draw it yet. I'm going to show you where to draw it. The top of our vase, normally, you know, we might see an oval up here, just like when we did our hot cocoa drawing. But for this particular drawing, we're not really going to see this part of the vase because all the flowers, let me just show you, all the flowers are kind of covering it up like so, okay, like hanging out. So this is kind of how it's arranged, right? And then up here and stuff too. So that kind of gives you an idea. So we don't want to draw that part because it's behind all the flowers and we won't be able to see it. So let's just get rid of all that. And I'll show you how this works in our actual drawing. So you should have your actual drawing from last week. I'm working in Sketchbook, so I'm going to put a new layer, and that's just always a good idea to put a new layer. I could have put a new layer for every flower, and if I was really working on a piece of art, that would be smart. That way I can make as many changes as I need without worrying about messing other things up. So I'm going to kind of zoom in just a little bit here. And our vase, so if you guys think about it, this is kind of where that circle opening is going to be, and then the side maybe comes like this. And so maybe I just start to see it at that place where it bends. And then I'm just gonna put it right there, okay? Same thing for this side. It kind of comes in here, it's behind this. So I don't wanna draw on top of that flower for sure. But I know that the vase goes this way and then it goes this way. And so probably right there, I'm just drawing in the air whenever I need to. That's probably the first bit of vase that I'm gonna see. And so really, we just end up so far with two lines, kind of like parentheses, coming down from our flowers. Now, the bottom, again, super, super important. Once you get to these to the same level, you put a smile line. Don't forget the smile line. It's a curve, okay? You see that? It's a curve right there. It is not straight. That would be wrong, so don't do that. Okay, let me erase this over here, out of the way. All right, so we have our base. The next thing that we need to do is we need to add the line of our table behind here, just to kind of anchor it so that our flowers are not floating in outer space. So just like with the hot cocoa drawing, for those of you guys who did it, we put the table up here, not down here, okay, up here, like almost to the top of the vase. When we get to the vase and the flowers, we draw behind in the air until we come out the other side. And if you're like me and you placed some flowers sticking down then you'll have to draw behind, and in my case it's a lot of drawing behind to get behind all this. Now I have my table, and that's pretty much it for the drawing part. That's, you know, whatever we want on here. If you wanted to decorate your vase, you absolutely could. But I would remind you guys, just like with the hot cocoa, this is a curved surface. So if I were going to stripe it or put whatever pattern or design on here, let me see if I can make that line less wobbly. So whatever I'm going to put on here would curve with the shape of the vase. Okay, and that's really, really important for any decoration you have on there so that everything looks right. Just make that a little darker there. Okay, so in my drawing, and you might look at this and go, well, do you have enough flowers that would really cover the top of your vase? So I know the top of my vase would be right here. I would maybe just have a tiny bit of that upper rim behind there, but I don't think, I mean, maybe right there. That's probably it as far as what we'd be able to see from mine. And that part honestly gets so lost in there that you probably don't even need to worry about it too much at this point. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some color, okay? So now, depending on what you're drawing with, maybe you don't have colors. So you might have pencil. You could shade in some things with pencil just nice and lightly and have gray tone color. And it might be really interesting to have a vase of flowers that were all in blacks and whites. So for example, if I could not color in my flowers, you know, with colors, I might make this leaf really dark with my pencil, and then the ones on top of it, I don't want to lose them, so I might not press so hard so that they're lighter, and do that with my flowers. That's up to you, but I'm going to use color because I have color. I would recommend for you guys to all use color if you have it. And what we're going to do here is we're going to start coloring in all of these. So if you use Sketchbook, like me, you might want to look at your layers. So if I'm going to color in my layers, oops, I'm going to put my layer on multiply. Don't ask me why it's called that. I don't know. I'm going to put both of these layers that I want to color in on multiply. And what that should do for me now, when I'm up here coloring in a new layer, let's test this out and see if it works, because it doesn't always work for me. Sometimes things get fiddly. Now say I go to color in this sunflower, and well, no, it's not working for me. Let me see. Maybe I need, no, I don't know. It's not working for me. It should work that when you have a multiply layer, then this should give you like your coloring behind it. Hold on. But maybe I'll just put this layer down here. There's another way to go. If this layer is beneath those layers, then when I color on this, there, see I can color right across my lines. Look at that. And my lines don't get lost with my color. So obviously I don't want my lines to get lost with my color, so I'm gonna do that. And if you're working in Sketchbook, you have lots of fun tools of texture and stuff like that to use for coloring things in. So just try out new things. You never know. Everything, all the brushes that we get look so different and stuff like that. They give you streaky, blendy stuff. So let me see what I like. I don't know what that one did. That is it's a blender. Well, it doesn't have any color. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to use, what do I like? I think I'm going to start with maybe an airbrush. And this soft airbrush, and that'll give me a soft blush of color like that. You guys might notice my brush is way too big for what I'm doing, so I need to make it a lot smaller. So that's probably a pretty good place to start with coloring, and I'm going to stay in this area and I'm going to kind of overlap some of my coloring to kind of give my sunflower the look that I want. So I want that soft edge, which is why I chose my airbrush. But if you're doing this, you know, depending on what color you're using, if you're using, say, colored pencils or something like that, you can just lighten your pressure, like how hard you're pushing as you get towards edges and stuff. So I'm going to add some tips of orange here and see how pretty those blend. And I'm not coloring perfectly. You guys may notice here, like I'm a little bit out of the lines, but I'm going to go over some of those edges later on. So I'm not going to worry about it too much with this. I'm just going to let my colors blend and look pretty. So, you know, when you have a vase full of flowers, it's best to get lots of good colors. You guys could be coloring this in, you know, paints or whatever you have at home, like I said. Okay, I might add just a little touch of that darker color along here. I don't know. So mix your crayons, mix your colored pencils, whatever you have. Remember, you can layer colors. It doesn't have to be just one color. Okay, you can definitely mix them together and get new and different effects of what you like. So by coloring one over another, you know, you get such pretty effects. All right, so that looks good. Shall we start? I'm gonna keep adding some new layers here. They're all gonna be underneath. All right, now what color should I do now? Let's do a bright red. I'm gonna go with a dark red because I'm gonna do my roses now. Before, I was a little messy with my airbrush and I didn't worry about it too much. That's fine because now, you know, I can go here and just really make this nice and neat. Again, you want to be neat with this project. That's what's going to make it look really good. It's okay to not be perfect, but we want to be neat. So sometimes it's hard to tell. Like you go to color and you're like, wait, what part of flower is this part of a flower? Is that something else? I think this is another layer of my rose in here that goes behind here. So that looks right to me. So now I'm neatening up those yellow bits that I kind of messed up before. And you can do that with paint too, you know. Sometimes you use the opposite, like the outside edge to clean up an area of color instead of using, instead of being super careful when you paint the first color. All right, so I've got my roses on here. And it's always great to add depth and shading. So I'm just gonna go to a little bit darker and I'm gonna go back to my airbrush and we'll get this nice and small. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, pretty good. And so now I'm just gonna kind of pick some areas that I think would be like maybe a bit darker, probably in the centers because not that much light is gonna get in there. And then kind of around the base of the petals. And if you think about roses, you know, they're really curvy petals. And so just by doing this little kind of U-shaped darker thing at the inside part of the petal, like going right in here, and see what I mean, like a little U shape or a little rainbow shape or whatever, and then leaving that edge there lighter. This is going to make my roses go from just flat rose drawings to, wow, they look a lot better. They look more realistic. So getting those shadows in there when you're coloring makes so much difference. Or if you're just doing this as a line drawing and you're not coloring, it definitely makes a difference to do it the other way. So now I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to put some highlights on here because I want to show you guys how much of a difference highlights and shadows can make on a flower. So let's go in here and add just a little, don't want to overdo it, where the light would just hit these petals. And that's on this top part, right before it curves, okay, right at the top of the shadow usually. And so it doesn't even have to go all the way around. You just hit it here and there with the little bits of where light would hit it. Okay, just really gentle. And this gives it shape that you can't really give it just by drawing alone. Okay, so the way that light and shadow affects or hits a flower is really going to make a huge difference in how that flower looks. it on there. And just make those a little stronger there. All right, so those look pretty good now. Now I have roses that don't look flat. They look much more realistic. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and speed this video up because I know you guys don't want to sit here for hours watching me color this, but you will be able to see what I'm doing, and then I'll slow it down again when we get to the part where we shade our vase, which is really, really important. So what I did here was I added some light highlights to the side of the vase. So the light's coming from this direction. I have it all not clear. Hold on. The light's coming from over here. So we have light on this side. Okay. And that just kind of follows this shape. Right. Get a little more there where this is bent. Kind of show that angle a little bit. And then the other side is just the same, except it is with our shadow color. Purple is an awesome shadow color. I know you guys always want to use black. And even on the outlines on this, I drew in black, but I'm going to show you guys how using a different outline color will look good. So you drew this in pencil and you colored it. And you can outline it then after you're done coloring it to make all your lines nice and neat. And I definitely recommend doing that. And I'll show you that in a second. But we're going to put our shadow color on this side first. Okay. And so purple is just a great shadow color. I know it's really like purple, really, but it looks a lot more natural than using like black or gray or brown or something like that, which can appear really, really harsh. And I'm actually gonna just make my brush bigger because I don't feel like that came out very even, like I really wanted it to. So I'm gonna try and do it with a bigger brush, and that helps it be a little bit softer in Sketchbook. This is the airbrush tool, which is great for shading and shadow. And we have this side in shadow. It should fade out softly. And we have this side here in light. And again, we probably want to add a little more up under there. And I'm just going to darken this side even just a little bit to really make that shadow kind of pop. And I need to go in there and just erase that little bit that doesn't look right. So, oops. I'm going to go to unlock this. Maybe it's on this layer. So when you're working with layers, sometimes it's hard to tell. Oh, that's what I did. I erased. So we'll just sample this color, and then we will. Oh, maybe I'm on the wrong layer here. Maybe I need to be here. There we go. That works. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I feel like this color right here is too similar to this color, so I'm going to change it. So I go here. Actually, I'll just do a new layer. And I'll just color it in, I don't know, maybe something like that. A little more grayed down. How does that look? Nah, that's a little too Pepto-Bismol pink, isn't it? Let's go more like that. That's better. That's more neutral. I don't know that I really like this with my purple, so maybe I might even just go to gray. Have a nice neutral down here. That looks pretty cold though. So, I mean, sometimes you just want to play around with colors. I have this purple here, so really if I really wanted it to look good, you know, like pop, I could go with a yellow color because it's complementary. But I have a really soft yellow here. It looks kind of white, but it's like a really soft yellow already. So let's see. What do I want to do? Choices. When you get a piece like this that has so many colors in it, sometimes it's hard to decide what you want to do. Maybe I could go with a different blue. Let's see. Or a different purple. Maybe a purpley gray. I'm going to go with that. That way it's different, but it's not bringing in too much more other color. Okay, so the other thing that we want to do is we want to add some cast shadow to our vase. So I'll show you that in just a second here as soon as I get this table color. So right now it's really flat. It's all the exact same color down here, and that is not great. So we already established that our light's coming from over here because it's hitting this side of the vase. So our shadow is going to be on this side. And so again, we'll go to our purple for our shadow. If you're using a sketchbook, I recommend using the airbrush and keeping it pretty nice and big. And then I'm just going to lock this layer so I can only put this where this is. It's not going to go on my base. And then I'm going to kind of make a shadow come out this way. And it might be a little kind of like there's some light coming through because part of the shadow is going to be from the flowers above. And so you might see like almost like the little circles of the flowers shadowed with light kind of filtering through them. And then it's more solid. The shadow's more solid here closer to the base. And so then you have that. And there we go. Hold on just a second. We could also add some light shining on the opposite side of the table to kind of bring in that sense of sunshine shining in. And I used this kind of creamy white that has a little bit of yellow tint, just because if you have sunshine, you can get that yellow tint. Sometimes, you know, the light color around you is interesting, and like say the reflected light, depending on like what the surfaces are around, can have a tint of color to it. So I'm just gonna kind of, so like what if there was some light on here? I don't like that. I'm gonna go like a little more. Because the light's kind of more dappled, and there we go. So I'm just gonna go with that, maybe a little bit more in here, so make it later. And I already put some highlights on my flowers, so you guys saw when I was coloring. And I could go in here really and clean stuff up. I could definitely go in and add some texture, which I think I'm gonna do. And you know, whenever you're doing a project like this, there's always gonna be a point where, you know, you decide you're done and you're gonna stop. But where that is, you know, depends on how far you want to go and how much time you want to put into it. This is quite a big project, so I totally get it if you don't want to spend hours putting your texture in here. You might go, you know what, I am done at this point. But then you might be a perfectionist. You might be really, really wanting to fix everything and make it the best that you can. So especially if I was doing this, you know, for an art show or a contest or something like that, I would want to put in every second of my time that I could to make this as good as it could get. And so going in and cleaning up things like this where my green overlapped and stuff like that, I would want to do that. But then you can also do things like adding texture. And so let's say I want to go to my wall. So I'm just going to lock this, which when you're working in the sketchbook, I don't know if you guys know this, but now the only thing that I can color on is the purple. So, oops, so let's say I have this. See, it's not going on my flowers. Okay, so first of all, maybe I want to add some depth of color back behind there. I don't know. Just to vary the wall just a little bit so that it's got kind of some shadow in places and it's not all, you know, like when you look at a wall, usually it's not exactly just one solid color. You're going to see light and shadow shining on it, and, you know, mine's gotten a little streaky looking here, but I'm going to kind of give a little bit of depth behind here and let it. I feel like that's getting kind of samey as what I have below, so I don't know if I like that, but maybe I'm gonna get rid of some of that there. I'll leave it a little bit lighter. And then I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna put some texture. So, you know, if you, actually, I feel like this didn't get any though. Okay, there. Okay, just to make it make sense. So if you want to add texture by hand, you know, you're drawing on paper, then you can do all kinds of things. You guys have learned about texture rubbings. You can draw texture. So like if I wanted to just draw texture, you know, I could add lines or cross-hatching lines to draw texture. I could add little dots all over, speckles. There's lots of different ways to draw texture. So you can experiment with those. I have tools that do it for me. So you guys can see like there's some pretty cool tools and Sketchbook that do some cool stuff. So, you know, if you're playing with Sketchbook, then you can decide what you like. I think that one looks pretty cool. I don't know, let's see. That's pretty cool. So you just have to decide. There's like splatters. I don't know, what do you like, you know? So I think, what do I, that one. And I'm gonna make it lighter again so that it gets textured, and again my layer is locked so it won't do this on top of my flowers. I actually changed my purple here, so let me go in and get the purple that I had, and I'm gonna kind of go now a bit darker. Try not to overdo these tools, because if you overdo them, then your texture kind of goes away. So and then much lighter. And I'm gonna make my brush like a lot bigger. So sometimes, you know, you're just kind of layering in colors and stuff to get some depth and to make stuff look how you want it to look. Maybe I'll add some brighter color on top of that. No, that's too bright. Let's gray that down a lot. So, you know, you can just add until you're happy, or take away until you're happy. And sometimes you'll find yourself going back and forth, you know, with layers and layers of color, especially if you're like working in Sketchbook or something like this, where it's so easy to change the background. It's a lot, you know, more time consuming if you're just actually doing this by hand. So obviously, you know, you want to think about that. I don't know if I like that. And you just play with stuff. I'm going to blend mine a bit. Let's see, blur it. Because I feel like it's a little too much. Nope, not too extreme. Just a little blur in here and there. All right, so we'll leave it with some. I'm not gonna worry about this being too perfect right now, but you know, you play with your stuff until you are happy with it, and that's just how that goes. Once you have your shadow on your vase, your shadow on the table, your wall color, your background, your flowers, all that, then you're probably done, but you probably want to outline. So if you color these in and you haven't outlined them in marker yet or whatever else you colored with, outlining can be awesome. Before you outline, think about what color you're going to outline in, because black isn't always the answer. So I have, this is my layer. Actually, I want that there. No, not there. So that's my drawing without the outline, actually, and I just hid mine. I think I sent it all the way to the bottom by accident. Let's bring it back up slowly. Bring it back up. Okay. So your outline color will really change the feel, and whether or not you have an outline will really change the feel of your whole entire thing. So I'm going to lock my outline layer. So if you're working in Sketchbook, this is a little trick. When you click lock here, now I can color on here. Let's see, what color don't I have a lot of? Bright. Oh, I got a lot of red. We'll do this in bright green so that you can really, really see. Okay. If I color this, oh, let me get a brush instead of a blender. That would be helpful. Okay. If I color this, let me make my brush nice and big. What does it color now? Well, it should be coloring. Hold on. Why is it not coloring? Did I get my brush? I didn't, did I? That's what happens. Like sometimes it changes. You think you changed the brush and you didn't. Okay. So now if I color this, it's coloring only that layer that I locked. So I could change all my outline. Whoops, I drew that with a different brush or on a different layer, obviously. Some of this I drew on a different layer. But I just want to show you guys how different your painting can look based on the color of your outline. This changes everything. So whatever you choose for your outline is going to change your color or change your whole feel of your art. So do you have to outline everything in the same color? No, it could be in multiple colors. Maybe I want to have blue and then some green and then some yellow. I don't know, you know, like whatever you think looks good. Maybe you do want some black in there. Whatever colors you want to choose for your outline, that's up to you. So for mine, I think, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Let's see. I'm gonna outline my different flowers in different colors. So I'm gonna say with my pink flower, I kind of like the blue on the pink, so I'm gonna let it keep blue. But I'm gonna go to my airbrush when I do this because on Sketchbook, it just gives you a nice softness to your colors and stuff. And then like if I wanted to, so here's the tricks. If you're working on Sketchbook, you can fade some of those outlines into other colors. I'm gonna put some purple on this one. This purple is a good shadow color. And I'll leave some of it going to dark. On my orange flower, I might go with a red outline because I thought that's going to look pretty cool there. I like the blue on the red, so I'm going to leave that on there. Maybe I'll... And sometimes you might want to go back, you know, to a more specific, harder colored brush to really avoid having the color on it for ages and ages. So I'm going to keep that. I like that. I'm going to say, I also like the blue on here, how that came out. So I'm going to keep blue on my foliage. And probably on here. And I'm going to have to go to those roses now. Whoops. Unlock that layer. And now I could, whoops. Oh, I didn't see, I can't do it on the roses because I put the color and I put the outline on the same layer. So the roses are going to have to stay outlined in black unless I want to go in and do everything the hard way. And I don't want to do that. So again, you know, it's up to you what you want to do. Let me unlock that one and go back to my outline layer. Okay, this is locked. So I'm going to go with dark red instead of a blue. And Kelly the blue on that one. Let's see how this will look with red. Yeah, I think I like that. And maybe even go a bit darker in some places just for fun. That's kind of one of the fun things about using Sketchbook is that you get to change things like this. And it's easy to change them. And if you were, you know, doing this on paper, it's going to be a lot harder to change them. There we go. And so, you know, you gotta figure out what's gonna look good for different things and outline in the colors that you like. I don't like this right here, how that's green right now, so I'm definitely gonna change that. I think I like this, like, kind of dark brown on here. Because it kind of brings out that feel of a sunflower. So, get that on there. Oh yeah, I mean, you can be as colorful as you want, or you could keep everything in black. Again, there's no right or wrong answers. It's just you as an artist, you know, you have to decide what you like. And just know that the choices that you're going to make are going to change the feel of your piece. And let's see, that's supposed to be like one of those peace roses, the ones that are yellow with pink. They're so pretty. Back to the pink here. I got that edge wasn't supposed to be gotten. And sometimes you need to change your brush size. Okay. There, and then brown. I'm going to put some more brush to get in here to these guys. And again, go back to that pink because I messed that edge up. Okay. So you could play with this for as long as you want. I mean, there's a lot of different things. Just again, as you finish your drawing, just be aware of those things, that outlining makes things look different. And you can do whatever you want. Obviously, this would look a lot better if I clean this up now because my edges are messy. So let's see. All right, so now I have my finished piece of work. And actually, you know, I do see one more thing that I don't like. I don't like that black outline on my vase, and I didn't even think about that. So I'm gonna go find my vase. Where did I draw it at? This is the hard thing when you're working in layers in Sketchbook, you know, is keeping track of where you put what. So that's it or not. We'll find out really quickly. We'll find out. Let's see. Turn that off because I don't want to just randomly fill stuff. Yep, that's it. So I'm going to just go with a little bit darker blue, maybe. Let's see how that looks, just to soften it so it won't be nearly, actually I'm just going to go a little bit deeper in color, make my brush bigger to make my life easier. And now that doesn't look so harsh now. I think that looks better. So I'm going to keep it like that. Okay, now I feel done. So remember, as an artist, whenever you are finished with your art, what artists do is they sign it. So I guess I could do this. Let's see. So it's kind of like saying that you're done. So sign your art. You can sign it here. Or Van Gogh, like he signed his, like Van Gogh on the side of his sunflowers, like that. So, I mean, you can get creative with your signature and put it wherever you want. I'm just gonna go. Okay, and done. I hope you guys had a really, really good time with this one, and I can't wait to see what you came out with. Hopefully it is gorgeous. Take care, guys.